All right.
Awesome. So, okay, well, I'm Christiana, for those of you guys that don't know me. And this is, I guess, kind of an inside joke, but I'm basically going to have a bag over my head for a lot of this presentation because I am traveling right now and I'm on my phone. So in order to like access my notes, you're not going to see me for some of this, but Levon, Mel, and I all went to Path to Empower in Anaheim yesterday, and it was the first in-person event in like over a year and a half, probably like 2 years. So my first in person, all of our first in person events.
Our first meeting each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our first time meeting in person.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Which is crazy. So yeah, we just really wanted to share with you guys some takeaways, some like, super exciting new things, kind of like our Bond's vision right now. So Levon is going to get started with with how you got to Anaheim, I guess.
Okay. So here's a little funny. We wanted to start with just sharing our experience. And for two reasons. So Mel and I get there Friday night. We drive in, it's a 4-hour drive for us. We get there, we're loading all of our stuff. She's away from her babies. I'm away from my husband and my son. And so we're just like, tired, we're ready to get to the room. And we see all these people with like high energy in the lounge and hanging out. And we're like, starting to get excited. We check in, we head to the elevator, and these elevators, like the doors close so quickly. So we're like, like karate chopping, trying to like get to an elevator. So we get into the elevator, and here comes like one other person. He pops into the elevator, and we're standing there, and he's like, oh, hi, you guys partying tonight? And we're like, Mel is like, no. And I'm like, yeah, probably not. I don't know. And he happens to see the Arbonne backpack. And he's like, oh, you guys work for Arbonne? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, oh, that's a really great company. And we're like, yeah, it is. And I was like, what's your name? And he's like, Tyler Whitehead. And I said, oh, okay. Well, it's so nice to meet you. Our doors open. We walk out, and I look at Mel and I go, I don't know who that was, but I think he was like maybe important. And so we walk out. I literally Google him, and I'm like, he is the CEO. And so we are like in the room freaking out, and like total transparency, not our proudest moment, because we are like, how in the world do we work for Arbonne and not even know who the CEO of our company is? So we shared that for two reasons. One, because you might think everyone knows you sell Arbonne. Like, we didn't know that he was the CEO of Arbonne. And like, we walk around thinking like everyone knows our lives, and truly they don't. So just to kind of give that insight of, share what you do, because not everybody knows. And the other reason is you never know who might be the next person that you meet. Could be your next best business partner, or it could be the CEO of the company you work for. So just a little funny, transparent moment. And now we're just going to just go through all of the presenters. I attached their names here because, like I said, when he said his name, nothing rang a bell for me, like at all. And so I wanted to like just put their names here, give credit where credit is due, and we'll just kind of give our takeaways from each of the people who presented.
Awesome. Thanks, Levon. I thought that was so funny. When they told me, I was like, what? But okay, so one thing, like I guess theme that kept coming up was just how important, can you guys hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. Was just like how important it is to kind of, instead of prospecting anyone, like really think, how can we help you, get to know the person rather than just kind of like blindly, go out, talk to people. I know we've talked about this a little bit with our reach outs, but really building that relationship, being consistent, and finding out like what in Arbonne specifically can help you. So I felt like that kept coming up in each of the speakers, but Tyler brought that up right away, just talking about that law of attraction And then he also shared some numbers. I don't know if you guys are numbers people. I definitely am. But right now, the global wellness market is a $4.4 trillion market. And we are right up there. Hey, can you guys make sure you're muted? I'm not sure who's, I'm hearing like background noise, but we're in the top 10 companies of those people in those like global wellness markets. So we definitely have the potential to dominate this wellness space. We just celebrated our 42nd birthday. So we have many decades to go.
Yeah, another thing that he had mentioned was just the vision and the future of direct sales, and how there was this visual of opportunity, product, and then an experience. And he said, what's happening now is this swap where the experience needs to come first, the product, then we introduce them to the product, and then it's about giving them that opportunity. And so he really talked about that experience. And I feel like having experienced this event, like thinking back, had like, I experienced something like this in the beginning, or, I know like the time that I came in was all like in the middle of COVID. So like, I didn't get to meet my people, and, I haven't met a lot of you guys in person, but had I had that community and like being together and just experiencing Arbonne, aside from the products, then it would have been like a different, I think vision for myself. I would have had a different like perspective. So he talked a lot about that, giving them that experience, then introducing that product, and then going into the opportunity.
Yeah, and he also talked, one of the other things like with him, which is, huge for the season of life that I'm in right now, that really caught my attention, was him speaking, just to piggyback a little bit more on that, of the community, but also, we're family, your family, like everything he was talking about was about family. And, he brought up a picture of his daughter and a video, and, introduced us to his family, and really that we're building a community with our clients and each other. But I mean, also, you never know when they're going to be your family. They can be, they can turn good friends. You could be helping someone you don't even realize, and they turn into your people. So that really, I think, caught my attention too, from the CEO of a huge company, right? That was amazing.
Definitely.
All right.
So, sorry, I'm like messing with my notes here. Lavon, go ahead. I cut you off.
So Tracy Dyer, she talked on prospecting through the 30-day, but her take on it was very different. Like, I think having heard what Tyler said with like the whole experience thing coming first, that was her whole take. Like, she wasn't like push the 30-day, push the products. It was more like listen to your people, ask the right questions, be there, be intentional about your reach outs. She said there are these clues that people will give you, and you just have to be a great listener to hear like what it is that they want, what it is that they need, not with Arbonne, not necessarily just with Arbonne, but in life, so that then you can build that experience or build that relationship, and then hone in on that experience to give them a positive experience with Arbonne, while then you introduce the product.
Yeah. And one thing that I loved that we talked so much about, like everybody, I felt like talked about kind of digital enhancements from the business perspective, like that. I feel like I phrased that very poorly, but we had several people from Arbonne corporate talking to us about digital enhancements, but then I felt like other consultants that spoke talked a lot about utilizing social media better to work smarter rather than harder. And so when she was talking about like our listening better, being more intentional with those reach outs, she was talking about kind of engaging posts, like how you can, again, really focus on attracting the right client by posting things like, if you could change one thing about how you look or feel, what would that be? To really like start that conversation, engage with people, put out that feeler to kind of see like where they are. But then she also talked about how important it is to have your own story and just, genuinely have your own kind of testimony, I guess, like to the products. And so I know for me, I mean, I have been all over the place lately, like physically with having babies and then nursing and then having another baby and then nursing. And like physically, I am not really where I want to be right now with my body. And so I'm starting a 30-day tomorrow, which is not out of my comfort zone. But I was thinking, I was like, I really need to take like before and afters this time just to keep myself accountable, but also to be like, people are so visual and they love being able to see, that growth there. So she said, facts tell, but stories sell. And she also said that if serving is below you, leadership is beyond you. So I thought that those were two really, I mean, she had so much goodness that she shared, but those really stood out to me.
Yeah. And then, when we're listening, we're being loyal to our customers. And, it also said it was also said loyalty is relationship building. And I mean, we have to be loyal to our clients. I was going to say patients. Obviously, I'm a nurse. So I'm sorry, but to our clients, because I mean, when at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to help them. And so we're being loyal to them by really listening and engaging in what they need, not what we need, but what they need.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Shannon Blass, she I have so many notes on her, and I know Christiana, you were like, but
I was having baby issues at this point. I went with my 6-month-old, so I had a lot of help, but I don't think I have any notes.
It was so good.
So she talked a lot about consistency and keeping it simple. And so my personality type is very complicated. I feel like I complicate all the things because I'm such a thinker. I want to think all the things through. I want to like look at every angle of how things can happen or pan out, every possibility. And so for me, that like hearing her say that, I was like, gosh, like keep it simple. Like that was something that I just needed to be reminded of. I've heard it many times, but she talked about like just being you, build those relationships. She said, beauty begins the moment you begin to be yourself. And I thought like, wow, like just be you, be genuine, authentic while you're out there, while you're sharing, like share your story. And don't like, for me, it was like, don't get in your head. Don't allow those thoughts to consume you, because that's who I am a lot of times. So just hearing that was like super, super, meaningful for me. She talked about planting the seeds while you're doing that, building those relationships, sharing those stories, and how not everything is going to come. And I know that we talk about this often. It's not going to come right away, but you will see the fruits of your labor like in time, because you have planted those seeds. Let's see. Oh, and then this, because this kind of goes back to that whole like in my mind and always overthinking, but being more attached to the ask than the outcome. And I know that's something that I've learned through all of you too. And so just hearing that reminder, just getting that ask out and not allowing the worry of what are they going to say, or what's going to happen, or are they going to respond, or are they going to ghost me, or, what all those thoughts that go through our head, not allowing those to consume us.
Yeah. And just going back on the simple, like keeping it simple. One of the things like I've struggled with is juggling, as we all do. And, I'm like, oh, this person's doing all of this. Oh, this person's doing the, and if you start to compare, and she said, I know we've heard this a lot, comparison is the thief of joy. And I feel like that is so true. So, I mean, when she said that, I'm like, and keeping it simple, I'm like, God, I just need to do what I need to do to keep it simple and what I am capable of doing. And also another thing she touched on, which I'm like, I love research, but she said, as you are Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. As you're thinking like of the simplicity, building things that are simple and your way of doing things, also believe in our industry, get excited about it. And she also said, research it. And I'm like, that is so true. I mean, I research a lot of our products, but like when we go out there and we're sharing with people, be be excited about it. Because ultimately I think, we're all in this and we're excited. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I get a new box of Arbonne, I'm like, yes. Like, I can't wait to try all these products. So like, we need to share that with our clients. We need to share that with our team. So just a little bit of from
So
what I got
I
from
have
that.
I have so many notes on Danielle, you guys, and like I don't want to steal y'all's thunder, Mel and Levon. So like
No, go for it.
cut me off if you want to. But okay, so Danielle specifically, and you guys, I don't know if you know who she is, but she is so like, I don't even know. I know Polly loves her, but like she's super genuine. She has all these different kind of like I want to say master class. That's not really the right word, but she does a lot of kind of leadership training. She's super cool. You should follow her on Instagram. But so she talked a lot about kind of like I guess how to earn AIT, how to leverage AIT specifically using add-ons. So she uses social media a lot, which is great. Of course, she's still intentionally reaching out, but she leads with product. And so even if it's something like the 30-day or the healthy habits that she really focuses on add-ons, which I have to just interject. Like, we're going to do a little rabbit trail for a second, and I'll come back to what she said, because starting March, I want to say it's March 1st. So this year, Arbonne is kind of really focusing on changes to the business model. And so it's March 16th. We are, what did they call it? We're doing like a product spotlight type of thing, incentive. I like totally got lost here. I cannot find what it's called. But so essentially the premise of it is, so March 16th, the product spotlight is going to be the mascara, because I don't know if you knew, but our mascara is actually rated number 10 in the world. So better than Chanel, Dior, Sephora, and many others. So starting March 16th, we're going to do like a product push, the company is, and it's our mascara. So generally when you sell a mascara, your commission is about 10 bucks. It's like 10 bucks and 50 cents. So for the month, you're going to get an additional $10. Like for every single mascara that you sell, you'll get an additional $10. And as long as I understood it correctly, they're going to be changing the product each month to just really encourage people to focus more on specific products and, utilize them as add-ons, kind of like Danielle was talking about. So I thought that's so cool, because I was like, oh my goodness.
Sharing bonus.
What was that?
Tool. I think he called it the sharing bonus tool. That's what I wrote down. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's going to be like a digital tool for us to push. So I think like, thinking the tool is like the product. Sorry, I just
So no, I thought that was so cool. And like I said, kind of rabbit trail. One other thing happening, well, March 16th, there are new products dropping, which we'll share a little bit about. And then also the QB of the 30-day is changing. It's upping. It's going to be, what did he say? 363 back to what it was. Yeah. So that's cool. But anyway, so my point with like throwing that in is that Danielle really preaches, like focus on single products. Like if you have a customer that is just obsessed with this, obsessed with the same thing, make sure you're exposing them to the skincare. Make sure you're utilizing that prospect, even though they're already a client, like prospect with the other part of Arbonne. But she talks about how important mindset is and intention, like some of us don't have a supportive family that, has tried Arbonne or that understands what you're doing here. So they really need to see your consistency. They need to see you win trips or earn trips like AIT. She talks about like, really, I think the biggest things she talked about are how important customer service is and how important it is to have a system, like a tracking system, which you guys, we have all of this already. We just need to make sure we're utilizing them, which is actually something, yeah, she said there's so many tools to maximize efficiency. Make sure you're using them. And if you don't know how, ask, because there's no point to recreate the wheel and, you know, spend your time creating something that someone already did. So just remember your customers rely on you. So keep track of your clients' favorite products. There's a way to see all of that on your dashboard. If you need help, let us know. But, you know, be genuine, show that you care. Don't just reach out to your clients to be like, oh my goodness, a month ends tomorrow. What free product do you want? Like, no, you need to actually care about them, check up on them. Another thing to remember is that our clients won't know what we won't tell them. So, you know, yes, we need to keep them in the know about specials, about new products. But again, like, we need to have that relationship with them, because this is all customer service, all revolves around trust. But she also talked about, you know, we have our system, we get in front of 40 faces each month. We know what we're supposed to do, but that looks different for everyone. And Mel, I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I know that really stood out to you.
Go ahead. Can you say that again, Christiana? Sorry.
Oh yeah. No, you're okay. I was just saying how like following the system doesn't look the same for everyone. So I don't know if you wanted to expand on that, because I know you that
yes. So so I feel like it does look a little different for everyone. I know, like, for me, I didn't even realize like we had a recommendation card. Did you guys know that? Everybody know that there's a recommendation card? She said she was giving us ideas, the voice memo, and like to do the voice memos on the phone. And then she said, in a recommendation card. And I look over at Christiana and I'm like, what is that thing? So, and I mean, I've been with Arbonne for a year and a half, which I thought was like really, really neat. But one of the things too, like with me, is that, and I'm totally going to share this. I'm going to share my story. Christiana, is that okay? Yep. Okay. So I recently like went to Arbonne for this, or to this conference, because I needed a reignition of the fire. And I don't know if it's just this year, and then, you know, I'm a nurse and work and COVID and all of the things, but I really thought about possibly stepping away from Arbonne. And I'm like, I don't want to, I love it. And I think that what was happening was that everybody has like a different way of what works for them, but I was trying to do everybody else's way instead of really trying what works for me. So what stood out to me is just making it to where it suits me. It suits my business, whether that's 15 minutes a day. Somebody else, it might work an hour for their business, but just really setting my goals and my why and the way that I do things, and taking things, you know, whether it's I'm pushing product, or I'm, you know, I'm getting in all my around, or in front of all of my faces, and but I'm also using things from other people and making it my own. And I think that that is something that really spoke to me, because I was just trying to do everybody else's way. And I think maybe that I just needed a fire. I needed to hear that, like, it's okay to have your way of doing things. We're just giving you all of the tools, and you need to just pick what's going to work for your clientele and for you. And I'm like, this is so true. Like, this is like, why am I trying to make this harder than it is? I don't need to do that. I have all of the tools and a great support team. Like, these girls are great that on my team. I just love them, and I know I could reach out at any time and say this. So but yes, and after I left and I heard that, I have it written down. I looked over and I'm like, I am staying. I'm never leaving Arbonne. I love the product, but that's sometimes what you just need to hear, you know, to just ignite that fire, is like, you just gotta do it your way. We have the tools. here's what we're doing, and make it yours.
Mhm. And I think that like simplification is
Yes.
such like a constant, theme here, because I feel like I and my team sometimes will be like, oh my goodness, there's so many things that I want to conquer today, but like, where do you start? Because I only have time for one or two or whatever it is. But like again, Danielle kind of tied her presentation back to simplification, because she shared this story of of the brand Siete. So the brand Siete chips.
Oh
And she
yeah.
was like, okay. So she was like, I fell in love with these chips. They're just chips. I should be a spokesperson for them. I'm not, like, whatever. So, and she was like, and then I tried their queso. Like I tried their vegan queso, loved it. And then I tried, like, whatever. She's just listing like all these new things they came out with. And she was like, because I like trust them, because they've never steered me wrong, of course I'm going to try everything they come out with. So her point was kind of like, focus on one product. When you're feeling overwhelmed by all the things, think about that mascara that you're going to get an extra $10 on, or whatever. Like, think about that one product that you love, like Fizz, and really just run with that. Because once you get a customer that trusts you, that you're loyal to, they're going to want to try other things. They're going to bring friends to you. They're going to refer. So, I mean, that's
Yeah, she
simple,
also
right?
she
So,
talked about that kind of like from two perspectives too. Like pick a product, maybe like if like this is the product, like Fizz, and you're like, I can like tell everybody anything and everything about Fizz. Like that's what I'm comfortable with. Like focus on that. But she also talked about like knowing your clients and knowing what they want and like being that good listener and the customer service part, because she was like, I have a customer who loves Fizz, and anytime like I reach out to her, she's like, is there any new Fizz flavors? And then she's like, there aren't, but the minute a new Fizz flavor drops, I know I'm going to call Grace. Like she's going to be my first person that I reach out to, because I know what she likes and I know what she wants. And so that's the one product that I'm going to focus on with that client, or having the one that you focus on just in general.
Yeah.
So the last partnership, and is it Amy and Chris Wheelert? Okay. They talked about mindset, and I know we're on, it's like 2 minutes, so I'll be really quick. But they gave so many ideas and just like examples of the mind shifts or mindsets. And so I'm just going to list them. They talked about problem state versus solution state, and how a problem state mindset is having like a blame mode where you like want to blame everything and anything in your life for like what is not going right in your business. Justify mode, so justifying your actions, or maybe justifying your inability to work your business, or just having that justification mindset. And then fantasy mode, where you're like in this like like in this, they were so funny too. I'm like imagining that they were like acting it out on stage and just like being in this like it's not reality, but like in your mind you're like just creating this fantasy of like, oh, it's so wonderful, and it's like it's really not. It's like you need to like get it together. And so then they talked about the solution state, and that looks like accountability mode, being committed, having consistency mode, and then growth mode. And they just talked back and forth about those. They gave some other examples just of like what that looked like. But then they talked about 5 steps to overcoming adversity, and just talked about getting your mind right. And I'll share really quickly, but I have really been struggling with mindset and just motivation. Like my motivation, not just in Arbonne, just like in life, has been very low. And so I was talking with Christiana one day, and Polly also, and specifically, I was like, I just want to sit on my couch and like listen to my true crime podcasts and like play puzzles on my phone and just like be like the introverted person that I am when I'm home. Like that's all I want. That's going to fill my cup, and like no ifs, ands, or buts, like that's what I'm doing. So I'm like talking to Christiana and I'm like, but like, I know like it's not healthy. Like I need to get up, I need to do these things, I need to like move my body. And she's like, well, what are you listening to? And I'm like, gosh, like like when she said this, I was like, the podcasts that I am listening to are like sad. They are like difficult, challenging stories of people who like struggle, and like it's just like all of the, I mean, they overcome, but it's not what I needed to be feeding myself in the time where I was lacking motivation. And so Christiana like just like sparked this thought, and I'm like, gosh, like I really need to like focus and hone in on my mindset and like be intentional about what I am allowing myself to like take part in. What am I allowing myself to take from social media or from, my friends or the interactions that I have with people. And so he talked about like sticky notes and like affirmations, and how like when she first started the business, she like had sticky notes everywhere, and just like reaffirming like all of the positive things in her life that were going to come. And that's something that I've been seeing consistently just like on social media, is like the words of affirmation. And I'm like, that's something I'm doing because I need that in my life. I know that mindset is huge in this business, especially when we are encountering people who maybe turn us away and things like that. So just really focusing on building that mindset.
Yeah, and then just one really quick, because I mean they were so funny. But one thing that stuck out to me too is like you really got to get in the trenches and work your business. Like and if you're gonna give it 15 minutes, like then they have to be like 15 minutes hardcore. Like you can't be like, why isn't my business not working? Well, you basically sat and just looked through Facebook for 15 minutes is what they're saying. Get in the trenches, get in there, and then be committed to your products, which was hilarious because he's like, I'm sure if Chris was like, I'm sure if I dumped out your purse right now, is it all Arbonne or is there other things in there? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Like we need to be committed to our clients. If
He's
you have
like, I
lotion
see
in
you all
your
sweating.
Yeah.
He's like, I know you're all sweating right now. Let's do a purse dump right here.
Yeah. And he's like, if you dumped your purse out right now, what kind of lipstick is in there? What lotion is in there? And I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, that's so true, but it's so true because you just never, I mean, we love the products, we love our business. So why wouldn't we just have all things Arbonne, right? Like all the things that we need to have in our purse. So I thought that was really cool. And just um personal goals, don't make it overwhelming. Their goals were phenomenal. They were so simple. They were like, this is our goals, and it was 1 2 3 and a month. And because of the consistency of they're doing it every day, or like this is your goal every month, and it was simple and it was consistent. And I think that consistency is key, whether it's 15 minutes a day, or I'm saying, or an hour and 30 minutes a day, but you are consistent every single day to fulfill that commitment that you've made to your business and you've made to yourself. And so I feel like that was huge for me because as we're all busy in life, and then you look around and you're like, oh my god, like I didn't do an hour and a half, but you're doing your 15 minutes and you're doing it right. And or you're doing your 20 minutes or your 30 minutes and you're just in the trenches working, and you're working hard. So that was something super important. I love that. I'm like, yes, I like this simplicity. I love that this is doable, and this is something you can share with other teammates, or if you get people on your team that they can do as well. What is it when they're able to duplicate it easily, basically?
I just share this will be my final thought, because along with the purse dump, he talked about, he asked, raise your hand if you have an iPhone, and like everybody raised, not everybody, but a lot of people raised their hand. And he's like, okay, that notification you get every week where it's like your screen time has increased or your screen time has decreased. And he was like, what if you committed to like putting your screen time towards Arbonne? Like, what if like the amount of time that you spent scrolling was either doubled or like tripled every day to like invest in your business rather than just scrolling on social media. And I was like, oh, that was huge for me because I scroll a lot. So it was just like a good aha for me that I wanted to leave you all with.
Yeah, there were so many things. But just to kind of, end it lately, obviously we know like we can't control other people's opinions, but in the words of him, we can control how hot we are, thanks to Arbonne. So they were so funny, you guys. I love their little like scenarios. But yeah, that's like not everything, but that's those are the biggest takeaways from us. So I don't know if you guys have questions. I know we're over, but I hope you guys all go to either Tampa or Austin.
Thank you guys so much. Amazing.
Welcome.
Yeah, that was so awesome. And I love it that that was y'all's first time going. I mean, I hate that for the last couple of years we haven't had this, but I mean, it makes such a big difference. I mean, like Mel, even like what you were saying, like you were thinking of not doing this, for a while. And I think that that becomes like common for people just because, it's just another thing. It's another thing you've got to add to your plate. It's another, but if you can see that big vision and the bigger picture and the bigger reason, you're like, oh, it is another thing, but it's so worth it, because then you can like start to prioritize the other things in your life. Like, well, if I do this, then I won't have to do this, this, and this. Or if I do this, I'll be able to do this, this, and this for my family, And so I think that it just like having that community and seeing other like-minded people. And I think the great thing about going to these things is that like, I mean, I can kind of get that from what y'all are saying. Like, I mean, you can see that those people on stage are just thinking the same thing you are, right? Like, I mean, the excuses I'm sure they were being funny about is the same thing that's going through your head, and it's like that's what I love. It's like, there's no difference between the people who are on stage and you. They've just heard more no's. They've had to get all those no's and all the rejection and all the funny stories that have happened to them because they've been doing the activity, And so I think that that's just so refreshing to hear that. And that's what I love going, is hearing all of their personal stories, just because, you're like, wow, it's not so different. Like we're not all so different from each other.
Oh, so good, you guys.
So
That was
awesome.
amazing.
Well, I know that Polly, myself, Kristen, and Blanca are going to Tampa. And then Debbie, you said that you're going, she just signed up today. She's going to Austin. And so, I mean, I would highly consider going. You can get the virtual option, but again, I mean, I think Christiana can attest to going to virtual versus going in person. Christiana, was it different going in person versus virtual?
Yes, but it's very loud. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Yes, it's just like I said before you guys hopped on, it is so, I haven't processed everything. Like part of me was like, maybe we should share next week, because like we were just there 24 hours ago, so it was a whirlwind. I mean, it was great, like it was amazing, but yeah, there's so much stuff, and I'm sure that in the next week I'm gonna be like, oh my goodness, we should have shared that, or like,
well, write
I'm
that
so
down, because definitely, like, I think that like that would be the best thing, that everyone can hear, all of this, because it's like some of the things that y'all are saying, you're like, oh, I know I've heard that before, but like when you're not ready to hear it, like, I mean, I remember hearing so many things that in Arbonne, like that, I mean, I know were told to me, but it's like it just hit me differently. And even now, like I'll hear a training that I heard a year ago, but I listen to it now, but my perspective's different. So it's like I take it differently, because it might be like, well, wow, why didn't I hear that before? Well, because I wasn't ready to. I was doing something else, So I think that that's so important too. And I would love to hear just kind of like y'all's like more aha moments, and even like that you have like a week to like use it, and and just like see your perspective shift a little bit about that.
I think too, seeing like that this is a company that's been around for so long and it's so amazing. But then you see these people up there and you might see them like in our catalogs or, but they're real genuine people. And, they were very all family oriented and very just gun ho. And, you just got a true, like a real genuine feeling from them. And I don't think that you could get that like on a computer. And so I think for me, like that was where my mind shifted a lot. And I told the girls that I'm like, just seeing that, like they're like, this is my family and these are my dogs. And this is what, this is what I do. And I'm like, oh, it's so awesome. Sometimes you go to these events, not with Arbonne ever in your life. And you're like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not that person. But it was so cool to just see like, they're just like us. They've had all the thoughts that we have. They have all of the concerns. They went through COVID and all of these things too. Like it's not just us. So that was where my mind shifted a little bit too.
I know you guys, I won't go the whole story because we are over, but I told Debbie this today that the first convention I went to, I went by myself. Andrea was pregnant with Etta. That's how long ago it was. And I don't know, had I not gone to that convention, I mean, I probably would still be here, but that convention was absolutely for me the same thing. And it was a smaller one, like what you guys went to. It was the turning point of my entire business because I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And it had nothing to do with what anybody said at any of the things. It had everything to do with the energy and the vibe. Because I mean, to this day, I feel it going up that escalator, looking down at all the people. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm in. Like, yes, these are my people. Like, that's what it was for me. So I don't, I think you guys hit the nail on the head, just saying, just being there and seeing that people in her, like they are real people and these are my people. Like, this is the energy I want to be around. It's positive and it's like-minded and it's growth-minded and all those things. And yeah, that it's true. Now so for me, that was so huge. And that's why, like, we're not pushing you to go to something for us. We're saying like, this is going to help you to see that bigger picture and you to decide, oh, and it's that belief that you need in what you're doing so that then you're like, you have a bigger vision. And that's why 16 years later, I mean, for me, I'm just excited because I have that big vision, and it just gets more and more solid. So, but thank you guys, really. And I'm so glad you went. Like, I'm so glad. I feel like a proud something grandmother. What am I, Gabby? You're like their grandmother. I'm their great grandmother.
Gosh, what am I?
Anyway, but yeah, so thanks you guys. That was amazing. And I know
so
we're
awesome.
over, but it was well worth it. And
the most important question of the night, Mel, where'd you get the hat? Did you get it there?
No, I ordered it.
From where? It's so cute. I love it.
From the Arbonne boutique.
Really? I haven't seen it on there.
Yeah, Lavon has one too, but
is it on there like now?
I don't know. We got it a while ago. I copied her because she had it, she wore it, and I'm like, what is that? I need it.
Cute. And just to show you like that stuff works. So on Saturday, I don't normally go to my Pilates class on Saturday. I do something else, but I always wear my Arbonne hat just because when your hair is short in the morning, it can stick up more. You can't just put it in a ponytail. So I wear my Arbonne hat. This just another one, just says, I think it just has the logo. But I walked in and this girl was working the desk and she's like, you usually take the 7 a.m. class, during the week. I was like, yeah. She's like, I recognize you from your Arbonne hat. Do you do Arbonne? And I was like, why, yes. And we're going to coffee this week. So cool. Yeah, just when you think no one's noticing, people are noticing.
And Rita always said, if somebody asks you what you do, you say, well, I hate to brag, but I do Arbonne.
Exactly.
So that's the mindset we should have. I hate to brag, but I do Arbonne.
Perfect.
Anyway, well, thanks you guys. Amazing.
Yeah, y'all have a great week and I'm excited to hear more next week.
Yeah. And I'll put the recording up for everybody so we can listen again.
Sounds good. Thanks, y'all. Have a great week.
Bye. Bye.